Hello, Rec7 and welcome back to Combat Mission Battle for Normandy. We are slowly pushing out the bulge from the river, the bridgehead even, across the river Seine with the 4th Somerset Light Infantry. And this will be our third episode in this fairly sizable scenario. And before we talk about what's coming up, I did just want to briefly touch upon the loss of the brain carriers we had in the last episode, and more specifically, the loss of the second brain carrier. Because although it has been several days in real life, this particular incident has been interestingly playing on my mind. And I will explain why, because there was two, I would say, bad outcomes at the tail end of the last episode. The first being the loss of this brain carrier on the kind of central flank, and the other one being the loss of some pixel trooping over here to an MG position. And I feel very differently about those two bad outcomes, and I will explain why. So first off, looking at this situation, well, what happened? Let me refresh your memory. We had an identified Panzerschreck position who had already taken out one brain carrier. We had a second brain carrier in the vicinity. We also had some infantry in the vicinity, and the decision that I made at the time was to essentially keep my units in position, lay down suppressive fire in the intent that we'll hope to suppress and or take out the team before they could fire any more shots. Obviously, that led to a bad outcome in terms of the loss of a brain carrier. Now, the reason I want to mention it, because on the face of it, if I consider the decision making and whether that was a good or a bad decision, I still believe that putting down large volumes of fire to suppress an enemy position is a reasonable decision to make, rather than simply withdrawing or taking another course of action. Even though it led to a poor outcome, I still think it was a good decision. Now, what irks me about this is this question, well, was it the best decision? And that's where I've got to say, well, actually, in hindsight, and actually even without hindsight, no, it wasn't, because you don't want to be an outcome-based decision maker. You want to make decisions and understand that sometimes good decisions have bad outcomes. But the reason I say it wasn't the best outcome is, well, actually, was there anything I particularly needed my brain carrier for? Was there other enemy positions that were potentially threatening my infantry with machine gun fire or other armaments that I wanted to either annihilate this unit quickly or keep my brain carrier in position so he could deal with our targets? And there was no need for that brain carrier to be in position. I could have withdrawn him, kept engaging with my infantry, and then once having successfully taken out the Panzerschreck troop, brought the brain carrier back. And yes, this would have opened up the risk that possibly he would have launched a Panzerschreck on my infantry and I could have taken a casualty, but that's still a better outcome than the loss of the brain carrier. So it was interesting because I was thinking it was the right decision to make, and in fact, if you look at the likes of some of the German half-track doctrines in terms of what they should do when they encounter 80 assets, even up to 80 guns, and the instructions was that the machine gun mounted on the unit would engage with the position straight away in order to suppress them, while the troops were offloaded and then made their way to another position to help to kind of take it out. So it was reasonable thinking, but it wasn't the best thinking. And that's why that one's been playing on my mind. And it's things like that which, to me, make the game very interesting in this kind of analysis of decision making and understanding, what, not only what went well and what didn't, but what better decisions could I have made in that moment. Anyway, the reason that I feel that's very different from what happened on the right hand side, where essentially I ordered some pretty large hunt orders with my units, and they just walked forward and stormed across an MG, was that I just think this is a pretty poor decision all round, and was born out of complacency and laziness more than anything else. I was just kind of felt I was in mopping up mode for the German units over here, and so I wasn't really finessing the orders. So I don't feel upset or aggrieved. I was just plain bad decision, bad outcome. So you have it. Two very different decisions in the last episode, both bad outcomes, but ones I feel very differently about. Anyway, death by analysis aside, where are we? What's going on? Well, let's see. We've got the German machine gunner position. He's currently running away. Zoom in, see him legging it for his life. So I would like to try and take care of him before he settles in another position. So he's heading slowly towards some of my units. Sorry, stop zooming in and out and all the nice things to the camera. And in addition, I'm going to bring up this second brain carrier to potentially engage him as he's running about. this brain carrier is going to have to... And can you not even see them? Alright, I'll have to alleviate that. You are going to have to turn and face, and in fact I'm actually going to withdraw you a little bit. I like this stance. That's good. That's an aggressive go-getter right there. Anyway, I'm going to pull these guys back slightly just because I don't want them to get into too much trouble with this German infantry unit. So that's probably quite a wonky angle for you to reverse yourself. Oh. Have yourself snake this way. Probably something a bit more feasible for your tracks to deal with. Okay, that should be fine, and bring up some additional support. I'm not too worried about it, but occasional grenade, Panzerfaust, etc. close range. Small chance of success, but a chance of success nonetheless. In the centre, the famed German Panzerschreck Pixel Trooper is no more, which I think I actually missed that at the end of last episode. I don't remember him being dead, but there he lies, slain. So we are safe to bring in the third Bren carrier of this little group, the one surviving one with the officer in it, to help us actually start and finally put position on this main central line that we've been working on for ages. I'll tell you what, why don't I hit the big red button and we can keep talking while this first minute plays. Aside from that, we've obviously got the troops advancing towards a sawmill on the left hand flank. They have come across barely any more resistance, which is good to see. I'm expecting to run into some soon, but it hasn't happened yet. It looks like they are running it en masse, which is good. What I really want to see is this red icon being picked up by one of these guys. I can't go marauding too far ahead of the main troops and bring carriers because they are just going to run into trouble. Unfortunately, that MG man, whenever he decides to alleviate himself, is going to come into trouble. Is that a mortar round? 2-inch mortar round? That's interesting. Right, I shall run for a minute because there's a couple of things I want to quick sneak peek at. Right. First off, I saw at tail end this chap with a machine gun. It looks like a combination of the second brain carrier we brought up and some rifle troop over here. And I believe that was a direct fire from this 2-inch mortar as well. Okay, that's good. That's one less machine gun for us to worry about. I did want to also check who we saw right at the start running off this way. I believe it was you. How many different infantrymen we see? Just see one. And then of course we reversed off. Now there is more than one. You can tell that because of where the icon went, which is a little way of ancillary information. But it centres above the unit. You can see it's off-centre from this guy, so there's at least one other dude back around here somewhere. But obviously the morale's pretty poor. So we'll continue to advance, but cautiously. Now, however, I did want to see what happened to my sniper. So he had been coming around with a view of trying to get a bit of a long-range eyes onto this foxhole. There were some Germans there. I believe you catch the eye of someone. That suppressive fire we've got laying down against that German foxhole. Just blind firing, we can't make any positive indication well. But despite that, looks like the German machine gun from that position is lighting up. There we go. Zoop. Yeah, so he's still in his foxholes despite all the it's like machine gun guy we see. So we have got a couple of units blind firing to these positions, but it's not doing enough. Okay, that's fine. We'll probably tell our machine gun man to put his heads down. We'll just try and roll these lines up, probably using our Bren carriers to try and suppress them as we close in with our infantry. Good, and I think that was about it. As you... Oh, hello. Well, this is interesting. So we had obviously our sniper patrol along here without making any spots. We've just come across Germans. I guess that's probably maybe an HQ unit actually. I mean, I can only see one guy with an MP40. But that's okay, I will happily engage him. It's an interesting position for him to be in. Not one we're really concerned about, but we also want to guard our flanks. Groovy. Okay, well, that's what I'll do now, because I'm 10 minutes in now, I've gone 1 minute, I want to try and advance significantly further in this episode. So I'll probably start putting a bit of more liberal cuts in until we get some interesting things. In fact, I'm going to do it right now because I want to check everyone's movement. And I will come back if there's something worthwhile to talk about. Otherwise, I'll hopefully advance a few minutes and just kind of close the net around these positions. It's a bit of a more broken fare, this one, but appreciate you bearing with me. Okay, a couple minutes down the line, because it's hard to find particularly interesting things to show or discuss, because a lot of the combat has been just losses of 1s and 2s, either on my side or on the German side, that I'm aware of, through to kind of large volumes of MG or Brown fire, which doesn't make the most compelling unit when it kind of picks away over many minutes. But we did do something a bit of note on this left hand side, so I was doing a bit of blind firing, and I was also thought I better move up and sweep my Brown car around the side to check what was going on. So we knew there was more than one German in this position, and it turns out there's a lot more than one German. And as you can see, as we start getting the eyes on the ground, the dead bodies start mounting. So you can see we've just got some suppressive fire coming in from the right there, as well as the Brown car itself. Yeah, and this turns out to be an entire infantry squad, of which we've killed most of them already through predominantly blind fire. I need to get these guys to stop that. We'll move in and secure the captives. As the one, as it says, the one chap decides to run. Oh, more than one chap. Oh, that's another. Okay, this little mop-up operation has gone particularly well, which is good to see. Oh, one making a break for it, and he might live to tell the tale. Okay, so that's good. So we're happy with that. Good things on the right flank. Worth pointing out, I think I finally got a first spot of the Germans in the sawmill. So we got some foxholes, and we saw one Panzerschreck Pixeltrooper. So we'll see what happens there. Also, I think we have seen a few German mortar rounds land. You see this impact there and impact there. I don't know exactly where they're targeting, because we got some hits over here. It could be that there was a spotter who's now died. But I don't know where to move my troops to, because I don't know which area they're targeting. It's waiting to see what resolves itself. And again, we've had a few sporadic mortar rounds over this direction, one of which was unfortunate enough to take out a couple of my Pixeltrooper here, including, of course, the Bren gunner. But again, no real kind of seems to be zeroing in any particular area, so it's something I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on without avail. Now, I have already watched this minute, which is one of the reasons I know it's worth mentioning about. And yeah, and also, unfortunately, my Brain Carrier, who I fair to say have been somewhat over-relying on, and was trying to get him in position to flank these foxholes, because they have been causing me a bit of problems. We've taken it's one of these guys. These guys taken a couple of casualties to the machine gun in this foxhole, and although we have inflicted some casualties, we've seen little red pluses, we've not seen the same. We've not knocked out machine gunners. So I was trying to find a route round with my Brain Carrier. Again, advancing them probably too far on this one. He did identify an MG position here, which he took out, which was actually an HMG, which is good that's out of the picture. But unfortunately, I also stumbled across. Well, not so, that was good. But as you can see, there was. I thought this foxhole was empty. Turns out there was just a very good cowering German in it, and a Panzerschreck troop here. And it's not a Panzerschreck we have to worry about. This is HQ unit lobbing grenades at us, and this is not the range you ever want to be using a Bren Carrier at. And what happens is Requin's Grand Management costs the British one more Bren Carrier. A fairly common theme. Good grenade throwing by that German HQ unit. I will give him his due. But yeah, still a bit frustrating. So you see there's still a German machine gun in here. Now suppressed by, you guessed it, yet another brine carrier. But we also may still have a German machine gun in this position. So we have seen some of the old red crosses pop up. We don't know which ones. Actually, he's doing buddy aid. Which I would love to put a stop to. Because there's a good chance he's going to buddy aid himself a machine gun if we have actually killed the machine gun guy. So again, I'll be trying just to keep these positions suppressed as best we can. And then trying to close in with the remnants of whatever squads I've got. I need to push these guys forward again. Which again, a bit slow, a bit monotonous. The other piece I've contemplated is actually using some more of my... If I can just jump into command phase. Mortars. It's a little bit close is the only thing. I don't really want to use the 25 pounders for this, but we could say, well, hey, why don't we drop the rest of the HE on some of these positions? Potentially we could just say, well, let's use it to knock out that HQ, Foxhole, and the Panzerschreck. It's not the... I just don't feel like it's a worthwhile use of my off-map artillery, to be perfectly honest. Sniper just never sees anything. Right. So again, I'm keep trying to do the same thing in terms of suppress units I'm aware about while closing in, but this is a slightly better supported position. Although less supported now we took the HMG in the back. And that's about it. So I'll mop up here, continue to move troops forward to threaten the sawmill. I will get through this position on trying to minimise casualties, although not being too successful, but overall I'm really happy. Plenty of time on my side, plenty of troops on my side, not taking horrendous losses, just some key units here and there. But we'll get there. So let's, I will keep pushing forward. And we'll come back next time we have ourselves something interesting to talk about. I've only got the next minute later when, I don't know if it's sheer weight of fire or just perhaps a more accurate or lucky gunner in my brain, that we finally make a breakthrough with this forward German Foxhole. Obviously, as per always the case, the machine gunner is the last one to fall and he decides to gleefully retreat. And unfortunately makes it away. Means that he'll set up for another lovely MG for me to stumble upon at some point in the near future. All such is the way of things. Actually, this is very timely. Not that noteworthy, but we've found another German position guarding this crossing, which is a very sensible position for them to be. Fortunately, it costs us one pixel trooping to find that out. We have seen some more German shells land in this general area, so I'm going to try and keep that one clear and allow a bit of separation between my two platoons. And finally, over on this right-hand flank, left-hand flank, jump back a little bit, this has resolved itself into two German platoons of infantry, so this is almost like a whole platoon over here. Or company, I should say. And so, yeah, with obviously one man surrender, he should hopefully go next turn, and now but a sensible man through the tower line, because the rest of the one who tried to run away have not made it. Although I think there was one other unit which kind of ran off in this direction, we'll have to mop up. But that's a good kind of 20, well maybe not 20, maybe not far off, I don't know, 15 odd Germans out of the picture. And it looks like we are, yes, starting to get that breakthrough in the centre here, although it's good. It's just, you know, always want to see that MG42 fall to the ground. Okay, grand. Well, I'll keep pushing on and we'll go back there. Alright, so we're a few minutes further on down the line, because I want to try and get a bit further on in time in this video, and but there was a few things worth talking about. So, we continue to press the middle with not great results, to be honest. As you can see, one of my brand carriers here found another minefield, which is always excellent. And that was just at the tail end of last turn. So as we headed into this turn, I decided to pull out to the brand carrier, who also had a leftover section, who was resupplying their ammo, and I was going to drop in some mortars. And then, as you can see, what had been a partial sound contact of claiming to be a tank, I had kind of assumed might just be some kind of armoured car, resolved itself to be a Panzer IV, which is terrifying, because I have absolutely nothing on the map that's currently equipped to deal with such a beast. And not only that, as my bold and brave pixel trooper try and pull back, well, the Panzer IV gets pretty angry about it. And yet another brain colour goes away with it. And unfortunately, so does the left remnants of a section that was in there, who I had been trying to dismount, but thought I'd be safer to pull back before I did so. There you go. We live and we learn. Other things, other places, a bit of a mixed bag. I see making pretty good progress over here on the right-hand flank. I mopped up another small machine gun team, just a couple of Germans without incident, which was nice to see. Then over on this flank, with a mixed bag this turn, where my snipers have stumbled across a German, well actually it says HQ, so it must be the remnants of the HQ section we saw earlier, which we suspected were here, but unfortunately they get the better of my two snipers. I don't think I actually got a shot off this entire engagement. But then, I mean, this is incredibly short range. These guys have got some kind of automatic weapons, probably an MP44 or MP40 even. And as you see, take casualty straight away, and then the second guy's just curled up in a little ball. And when the grenades start flying, that's not really going to end well. So that one didn't go in our favour. Meanwhile, slightly further up this valley, we had identified a... Where is he? Ah, here we go. A German machine gun position. Which again, unfortunately, the means of identification tends to be they start taking pot shots at my troops. And then you see a big flashing icon here, which a couple of riflemen went the way of it. But this time the exchange at least ended a little bit more favourably, and as we kind of regain our composure and start to return fire, you're raking in here from our, I think it's from the brain carrier in the back there. Takes him out. Now he's probably not alone, so we'll have to give this spot a little bit more attention, but at least that's the machine gunner, is one of the first ones to go. And that's how it's kind of been across most of the map, to be honest. We get some places go particularly well, obviously sweeping on this flank where I took care of this German platoon, and getting ready for my attack onto the sawmill. Again, no real incident. Sporadic mortar fire in the middle of the forest here, but nothing heavier. And again, the right flank going pretty well, and in the centre not so much. I'm taking more casualty than I like. So, plan going forward, for this centre, I'm going to take a bit of a hold fire. As I say, I don't really have anything capable of taking care of a Panzer IV at the minute. I mean, I have some Piats around, but that's not a great situation. So, I will get tanks eventually. I've got some armoured cars coming. I can't remember if it's 110 or on the hour. And then about 20 minutes after, I do have some Cromwells turning up. I think it's a Cromwell. Well, in fact, we can just check. Yep, we've got Cromwell coming up at 12:30. So you're 12:10 from armoured car, 12:30 for my tank troop. And the time right now is 12:12. Oh, my armoured car is late. Must be 1:20 I was expecting him. But that's good news, because it means my tank should be here in about 10 minutes, so 1:10. So the plan, I think, pull back. I'm going to reposition this HQ to try and order the remnants of my mortars, 3-inch mortars on that position. I can go command phase here. Of which we have 25. Now they're claiming they're busy, because I tried to set this order up last turn with the brain carrier, and obviously he, well, bad things happened. Am I going to have to do this individually? Quite possibly. I want to select multiple units, but that's not happen. I can do it this way. Now get them all to stop, and then I'll reposition. And then, so what I think we're going to be doing is again, pressuring towards objective Beer and phase line Goose. Probably having some infantry just guard my flanks here, depending on when the tanks, etc. show up. The plan, Son's tank, will be to hammer this area with remaining mortars, albeit, like I say, they've not got many rounds left, 25 odd, and then push in with the infantry to try and flank the Panzer IV using the forest for cover, turn what has been a problem against our enemy, and to try and get a Piat in the shot. Failing that, bring in my own tanks and deal with it that way. As I said, we're just about in position to attack the sawmill, although, to be honest, haven't really seen much beyond these these foxholes. So I think what we're going to do is use our 2-inch mortar. Start giving these guys a bit of a bad day as we push in, you know, suppress the known position, and then we'll start pushing in with some more of our troops. Leading the way as ever, a couple of scouts. I don't. My sniper might be a little bit more useful on this flank, but it's not really been the case. There's a slight rise, which is, you know, causing them a few problems. I will see if I can't sneak you up slightly, although I'm conscious that's starting to get pretty open. And then meanwhile, you guys are getting ready to converge. Excellent. Oh, that is disappointing. I had these guys medic the officer from this detachment, and they have opted to not pick up the brain gun. Because why? Why would you want not brain gun? Sten gun. Why would you want a capable piece of kit like that? Grumble, grumble. Okay, that's fine. So I think it'll take a few minutes for things to get going here. So hopefully we can knock out or suppress what we know about with the 2-inch mortar, and then we'll pressure in. I would like to have known more, but we don't. And that's probably where things stand. So again, I'll probably go back and put a reasonable sized cut in here, because we're going to be holding a bit in the centre and still doing our kind of feelers out on this right hand flank. Alright, so I'll come back at least one more time. Hopefully, I'd like to get down to at least the 1:10 mark, if not further in this episode, so we'll see where we go. Okay, time for a check back in, as the battle for the sawmill kicks off in earnest. And you see the defences have resolved themselves a little bit more. So we've got a couple more foxholes at the back, and each of these, as we zoom in, a smoother zoom, there we go. I'll say I've got a heavy machine gun in there. Those are causing some problems for the troops at the front. Haven't taken many casualties, but infantry advancing through essentially open. Trees don't offer much protection against heavy machine guns. It is not going to end very well. I have been trying to... Oh, well, that's one of the heavy machine guns taken care of. That's good. That's my brain carrier was doing good work there. And the 2-inch mortar, as you'll maybe have seen the explosions coming in, have done a good job of suppressing, if not killing, the units here. We've seen some land essentially on top of the foxhole, but we haven't getting them close enough. And then we also have contacts within the ground floor of that building. So we've got, I think it's this section, providing a little bit of fire support. And then we're going to start to try and push forward a little bit. I've got a brain detachment and a couple of brain carriers on the side, just to try and scoot forward a little bit, get a few more eyes. Obviously very wary of that position. It's all the balance between sending forward squishy humans, who aren't so afraid of Piets, or my brain carriers, and then we find we haven't actually killed that guy and he pops up and wrecks another carrier of it. Can't really afford to lose. Meanwhile, oh yeah, I was going to say, if we see him. Frustratingly, it looks like either we didn't kill the guy with the machine gun or they performed buddy aid, because there's another German in this exact same position, sitting there quite happy with the machine gun. Now, I did have someone moving in position, but it looks like we just lose contact rather than take care of them, so to speak. So that's something I'll have to remember and deal with. Not too much to talk about everywhere else. No real advancement in the middle. We are using those rest of those mortars, but they've got, I think it was a 7-minute cooldown, so a bit more to go. But pleased to report our scout cars have arrived. So we have now got, looks like a few pathing issues. So we've got the Daimler here with the 40mm cannon on it. We've got one here with the 37mm cannon on it, or gun on it. And then we've got a little Diddy Daimler Dingo scout car at the front, which has got a brain gun. I've opted, I think, to send these up the right-hand side. I think we need to help dig out the defences against the beer objective here, La Merocoeur. I think they'll be of most use. Although I may check their pathing to make sure I've not given them some silly orders. Beyond that, things as you were, but I wanted just to bring in and show you how the battle for the sawmill was going. Again, I'll cut over here and we'll come back when we're going to get a bit of a breakthrough over here. Okay, and let's just check back in on the sawmill. I think we're a minute and a half later down the line. I've now got the brain carriers approach to my left-hand side. Although this minute, my scout team have got out the carrier, because of a misclick. I gave the order to the team rather than the vehicle, and so they got out. But not be men world. The HMG that we saw take a casualty has unfortunately had another member of the team pick up the weapon, so as continuing to cause some problems. And the Piat gunner did pop his head up, but he thankfully was shot last minute, so there's no real threat to my Brens on this far side of the minute. And I was able to just mop up the members of that team. I've also brought in one of the other 2-inch mortars to target this heavy machine gun position, just to try and essentially give us an avenue in on this flank. Because I think if we can come in this direction and close in with this machine gun position, I don't think there's too much to worry about. And I see that 2-inch mortar is actually getting really good work there against the machine gun team. So much so, these chaps breaking one, which is good. We should hopefully mop them up. Well, at very least we don't have their heavy machine gun anymore. And we did briefly get a flash of units in here. Okay, so an H-core unit. It looks like they have maybe pulled back from this building to this building. So I shall adjust my targeting accordingly. Yeah, you guys should really be in your vehicle. Good. So going well, not too concerned. I've taken you know, a handful of casualties here. I took unfortunately a Sten gunner, a rifleman just from one of the machine guns, but overall acceptable casualties pushing out this sawmill. And I think that's where we're going to draw it close, because it's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So I didn't quite get as far on as I wanted to, but made a bit of progress, and I'll try and do a bit more chunking forward advancements so this doesn't turn into a mammoth number of episodes to get through this mission. But it is, yeah, sometimes a bit slow just with the variety of contacts across the front line. But yeah, any thoughts, theories, etc., let me know. Leave it there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheerio.